So, for me, why I do theater, it kind of goes back to my third year at the New York Renaissance Fair. And this was the year that I went from being 17 to 18. And so my first 2 years, when I was a minor, they signed a piece of paper that my parents also signed that said, you know, if I tripped and I fell down while I was staying overnight at the fair, well, this guy can make choices in the middle of the night, like he was my parent. And that was cool, and I did that for the first 2 years. The third year, I turned 18 the very first weekend that we were out there. So I was still 17. So it was great. I was, you know, hanging out with these people I'd known now for a couple of years. You know, just we were joking and I was drinking. I've got my Mike's Hard Lemonade because I am just badass like that. And I told this joke, and it has two parts. The first part that you tell is all about a bricklayer. And he lays bricks, and then it's a big complicated thing, so you can always count the bricks. The punchline of the joke is, after you've been telling this big, long story, he has an extra brick at the end of his bricklaying. And what do you think he does with the brick? And, you know, oh, he threw it out. I'm like, ha ha ha, that's the joke. But then you wait a little bit longer while other jokes are happening. And there's a second half to the joke where you tell a totally different story. And the punchline of that story is, what did the dog bring back in its mouth? The brick from the other story. So it only really works if you get to tell the two parts. The person who was in charge of the fair that year, the artistic director, was new. And he was very gruff. And so when he found out that I was up, he came up to me and he was like, well, what are you doing out of bed? And I was like, I'm just telling jokes and hanging out. And he's like, and you realize the position you're putting me in? I was like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn 18 tomorrow. Like, what do you want me to do? He's like, you're putting me in this crazy, ridiculous position. Well, just go to your tent and stay there. And I understand, like, I give him this evil voice, but he like, that was his job, to give me grief. So I went to the tent, and I zipped it closed. And he walked away, and I zipped it open and stuck my head out. And I told the second part of the joke. And, you know, the reason that I'm telling this story is because it would have been very easy in that moment for everyone to say, oh, he's a kid. And for me, theater is that community, that sense that you create something together and you spend time with these people over the long term and you build something and they let you tell the second half of a ridiculous joke. They just went with it. They didn't give me grief about it. They didn't treat me like I was 12. They didn't treat me like that any of that had just happened. I might as well have been sitting 10 feet over, still in the circle, still with the Mike's Hard Lemonade. And in that moment, I was no longer 12 or 17. I was 18 or 30 or 45 or however old they were. And that was really nice. That giving community is why I do theater. I'm Tanenbaum, and I am theater.